Hello, everyone. Greetings from New York. I'm the founder and CEO of Involve, and I'm so thrilled to be able to bring together some of this year's Heroes Ethnically Diverse Women Role Models, supported by HSBC in a virtual, truly global event. This Heroes feature list celebrates women who are smashing barriers and blazing a trail for progress in different parts of the world. In this event, we'll hear from four amazing women role models on their own personal stories and experiences of navigating their careers and progressing inclusion within their respective countries. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Bo, Divya, Haydi, and Plax, who are joining from all over the world today, truly from all over the world, to share their career journeys and personal stories with us. So it'd be great if we could one by one just start by introducing yourselves, like where you are, what you do, company you represent would be great. And I'm just going to go by the order I see it on my screen. So Haydi, it'd be great to start with you.
Brilliant. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Haydi Adel Lamey, and I'm the Regional Head of Customer Experience at HSBC, and I've joined you today from Dubai.
Fantastic. Thank you, Haydi. Bo.
Thank you, Suki, and thank you for the invitation to join such a wonderful panel. That's probably one of the most diverse panel I've ever sit on myself. So my name is Bo Zhou. I'm in Hong Kong, and I'm a Senior Vice President of SP Global Market Intelligence. I lead their account management team in this region, and we are the senior relationship and commercial leaders for serving our clients here. Really, really glad to join the panel today. Fantastic.
Plax.
Thanks, Suki. My name is Plaxedes, but Plax for short, because no one can ever pronounce Plaxedes. I am joining you from Johannesburg. I am a manager in the Alternative Legal Services Department in Johannesburg for HSF.
Fantastic.
And such an honor. Thank you so much.
No, it's great to have you. And last but by no means least, Divya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Divya Steinwall. I lead the business management and sales enablement for the iShares Canada franchise at BlackRock Asset Management here in Toronto. I'm very excited to an engaging discussion this morning with my peers and with Suki.
Fantastic. I mean, honestly, that is the most international locations I think we've ever had on any panel event ever and involved. So honestly, welcome for joining, and to everyone who's in different regions and time zones, thank you for joining us. We are recording this, so obviously those that can't make it this morning, we will send the link to everyone that registered. So really great to have you all. I'm going to launch straight into the questions. We do want this to be interactive as well, so people that are here live, please do send your questions or comments in the Q&A chat or the chat function, and then I'll do my best to pose it to the panelists through the session. Let's launch the first question. So I'm going to go to Plax first. So Plax, in your interview for this list, supported by HSBC, you talk about creating change on a local level, and this does have an impact on global inclusion for women of color and other groups too. Do you have an example of this that you can share?
Thank you, Suki, and yay for being first, I think. No, joking. So I think what I was trying to get across is that I think we can all make an impact in our communities. And from a South African perspective, the main barrier to start off with is actually the lack of education. So I think with my example, I'm going to speak more to how I have assisted previously in the past on a local scale, on a small scale, just as Plax. So my friend's daughter sent me a link to an Instagram post, and I saw that it was a Zimbabwean, Black Zimbabwean student who was studying at the University of Witwatersrand or Wits, and she was doing medicine, but she had been in South Africa since she was 9. But because she wasn't a permanent resident, she was considered to be an international student, which meant that she didn't have access to scholarships or funds. Her parents managed to secure funds for her first year of university, but then she had to drop out, even though she had good marks. So when I came across this, I was like, oh, I'm also Zimbabwean, I'm living in South Africa. And I'm like, but what can we do? Can't help the whole world. But I'm like, she just needs whatever X amount it is. So I was like, surely we can help her. Surely she can, after having to sit out her second year, surely we can help. So we have I'm part of this, like a WhatsApp group. So it's just everyday people, you, me, not big organizations. And I was like, guys, come across the story. I'm going to first vet it out to see if it's legit. And if it is, why don't we all support with what you can, whether it's 1,000 Rand, 10,000 Rand, and there's everyday people. So introduce, like, well, I say Zimbabwean style. Everyone's like, okay, I have 1,000 Rand. I have 1,500. So I kept it going, and I was like, okay, we need 10,000 more, we need da-da-da. And by the end of it, we raised 71,000 Rand. This is everyday people, you and me. And she was able to register for her second year of university. And that for me is, if we can't even get them into the workplace, right, how are we going to support inclusion in the workplace? So I think for me, that's what I meant about starting off at a local level in your community, everyday and, everyday people, and not necessarily it has to be a large scale sort of event.
Yeah, because that was impacting one person's life, and actually it sounds as though you personally drove it. So it wasn't like you didn't just, like, you really were driving it to encourage people in the local community to get involved. So well done to you. And how is she doing now?
Yes, she actually sent me a voice note 2 days ago, and she is now in her final year. And she was just saying thank you. And my message to her was that I hope that you will pay it forward. So I hope that one day when you come across someone else in a position of need, for me personally, a Black Zimbabwean woman, that you will pay it forward and you will assist her in the way that, those around you in your community have helped you. And this is someone I hadn't met before. I didn't know anything about her. So for me, that just gives me like the warm and fuzzies that I was able to be a part of that.
Brilliant, well done. Bo, I'm coming to you next. You've got roots in China, but you trained in New York, and combined with motherhood, your journey's been a melting pot of cultures and approaches. So what observations or lessons have you learned along the way through working in both the East and the West?
Thank you for the question. But before I address the question, I really want to do a quick comment for what Plax's story. That's such an amazing story that she is helping someone really making I think, life-changing journey at that point. Because when I was in my college, there was our professor did exactly the same thing to me, changed my life trajectory, was able to recommend me to go to MIT. That's a completely life-changing experience. So thank you, Plax. And hopefully everyone that you could help anyone else to make that kind of a journey reflection point as well. Right, coming back to myself, only when I was doing the interview was involved, I realized what an unconventional journey I have been on. So I was born and raised in China. It's a very classic Eastern culture. And then I went to MIT for my graduate school. I did my PhD in material science, which is a very analytical and scientific training. And then I started my professional career is actually on Wall Street in New York. After spending almost 10 years in New York and coming back to Hong Kong, now being in Hong Kong for 7 years, and really servicing the regional clients here, right? Working in a global company. So it really is a melting pot of all the different cultures. I consider myself a hybrid as well, culture-wise. From the born raised in a traditional Eastern culture to professional training in a much more global and Western culture. And now I sit in the place where really the East meet with West. Mm-hmm. And my suggestion and lessons really trying to make the best of each culture. Every culture has their own pros and cons, right? Trying to get best out of it. And along with the journey, trying to be radically open-minded, because it's really, really difficult. And open-minded, listen to people, meet with people with different backgrounds, different from you. Look at the panel today. And we have all the amazing women and Suki, you coming from a different city, different cultural background. I would challenge our audience, was anyone able to pronounce our name correctly, right? That's the kind of the input, like all the different perspectives. When you meet different people, really open your eyes and open your minds. That's the time we get the best of everybody.
But when you were working in, say, New York and Hong Kong, as you are now, do you feel like you have to change your behaviors to be successful as a woman in comparison to being in the two cities?
I think everyone needs to change the behavior when they come to a new place, right? And culturally or business active, it's not specific to women, men or women. When they come, the business practice might be different in New York versus Hong Kong versus Johannesburg versus Canada, right? So we always have our global standard. There is a baseline of global standard, but very conscious of how do we make the best of the local culture and respectful to the local culture and make the best. You know, I think a lot of things is different in different culture, but there's something in common, which is your authenticity, your genuineness, and as well as your best heart to service the best interest of the clients or the people that you're helping.
Yeah, absolutely. So talent first, almost, like be talented as a leader first and foremost. Fantastic. Haydi, I'm coming to you now. So you live and were brought up in a close joint family. What are some of the ways that you feel this has helped your career journey or personal development?
It's been a tremendous support, I must say. So my father always wanted to provide us a sense of cohesion and support to each other. So we are a close-knit family and we continue to live jointly even after having our own families. I think this closeness and the support has been instrumental in my career. And it gave me a deep sense of appreciation and to the importance of having people that fill in for you when I'm not around. I'm certain my mom did a much better job in instilling in my kids great and positive values. I think everyone should look for a support system because it certainly elevates the mental capacity and it gives you time to focus and navigate through your career aspirations, your personal development. Obviously, if you were alone, you would not have that. So we share responsibilities as well. So when I'm around or in the weekends, I take my kids and my nephews and my nieces to their hobbies and doing their activities. So we support each other at every stage. And certainly I wouldn't be where I am today if I did not have this support system.
Yeah, we all kind of need, it's almost having that support network to provide it, almost like cheerleaders in your life to support you so you can do your career aspirations, right? Otherwise, how do you cope? I mean, it must be even more difficult, say, for being a single parent where you have like child responsibilities, but maybe not as much support that you might need. Great. So I'm going to come to Divya now. Divya, so you mentioned that as a leader at BlackRock, you were constantly aiming to pay it forward by leveraging your platform and experience. What are some of the ways that you've used your influence and expertise to support others?
Yes, thanks for that, Suki. So it really is, I am where I am today because I've had people ahead of me who've mentored me and sponsored me and helped identify opportunities for me. And it's not just always hard work that gets you where you are. And so to me, I really want to give that back to the future female leaders that are behind me. And so it's twofold. One is through active involvement in very formal structural programs, such as mentoring programs, some of the employee resource groups that we have, participation in affinity networks within my industry. But I think what can be the most impactful, I found sometimes, are some of those informal day-to-day opportunities you have to support others, similar to what Plax was talking about. It's, the conversations you're having with people when the people you're sponsoring aren't in the room. So tapping someone on the shoulder and saying, oh, there's a committee that's looking for somebody. Why don't you put your hand up for this? Or here's a project that's coming up cross-functional. I think this person would be a great addition to this team and bring some experience and perspective. That would be a great resource. And so those little interactions that sometimes are unseen by other people, but can have such a huge impact in the trajectory of someone's career.
And I completely agree. And for those of you that don't know, I actually published a book in March called How to Get Your Act Together, a judgment-free guide for diversity and inclusion for straight white men. So we were trying to get them on board with, in a positive and engaging way, because a lot of the time they get hit over the head and then they retreat and they don't do anything. And they are the majority in business. We need to get them to do more. But the final chapter actually is all about sponsorship. That's kind of what we close the book on, because of how important we think it is to drive it. Like you say, to proactively provide opportunities and champion that person when they're not in the room, to give them the opportunities. I think, Bo, you also mentioned about someone taking a chance on you and proactively helping you. It's those interactions, as you said, Divya, that make a big difference. And where are you, Divya, by the way? Because I'm loving, is this your home or is this your office? Where?
This is my home office at the moment.
I'm loving that you have a running machine and a spinning bike. So
that's how I've survived the last 2.5 years of COVID.
You know, physical health is just as important as mental health. You know, I think it's brilliant. I miss my Peloton in London. Great. So I'm now coming to some Greek questions now for you all. And the first one is going to be, so at Involve, we believe in the power of uplifting role models and championing their successes. What is one key milestone in your life, career or otherwise, that you are most proud of achieving and why? Would love to come to Plax first for that answer.
Thank you. So I might be repeating myself for those of you that have watched the interview, but I can't get away from this career highlight. So for me, it was being part of the group that launched the Alternative Legal Services Department or practice group in Johannesburg. So here I was coming from traditional practice, and I was a senior associate in litigation and was moving along quite nicely. And then a headhunter approached me and said, hey, look at this opportunity. And I'm like, but are these guys even real lawyers? What do they do? I'm established now, you know, wrong crowd. But having, so it's all about innovation, using technology. So I was then recruited to help launch this practice group in Johannesburg. We have other hubs like regionally and globally, but this was Johannesburg. Market is different. Everyone is still very traditional. What are you talking about technology? Like, you know, what's wrong with me, the human being? So we had a team of 10 to start off with. And I suppose for me, I was like, oh, reputationally, this could be quite damaging if we fail. Where would I go afterwards? Who would have me back? But we got stuck in. And what really resonated with me about this role is not only the deliverable part, but the legal graduate development part. So we have a development program for legal graduates. And so far, well, since 2017, we've had almost 80 legal graduates pass through. And so we develop them with soft skills. We also give them job experience. It's almost like a bridge for them to get into whatever field or sphere that they want to further on with. But also what's very, and if you could indulge me a little bit, I always get messages from people that I've passed through the team, and they always say to me, maybe after 2 years, after 3 years, saying, Plax, you know, thank you so much. When you said A, B, C, and D, I'm still holding on to this. And I never had that sort of experience when I was, you know, going into my legal career. I never had anyone to guide me. I never had anyone to say, oh, you know, perhaps you should be doing this, perhaps you should be doing that. But to get those messages, especially like if it's crazy and it's busy and you're like, oh, hating my life right now, it's just like, this is actually worth it. This is why I do this. This is to see the legal graduates go on and to pursue their careers and to flourish. So that's really what I'm really proud of, because now I think our team is close to 50 from 10. And it's doing really, really well. So in fact, I'm being told to let go a little bit, but I'm like, no, I want to hold on.
Well done.
Yeah, that's my career highlights.
Brilliant. I'm just going to go across the panel as I see. So Divya, you're next. What's your career highlight?
I'm going to say, this is going to sound a little cliche, but I do have to say that this recognition as a role model has had a huge impact for me. I actually looked up the definition of role model, and it's a person to be looked up by others and as an example to be imitated. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge responsibility. And all of us, you heard off the top, we all have full-time day jobs. We do what we do in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives outside of our regular business hours. And I don't think any of us go into this looking for accolades or recognition, but you know, and some of the comments that I've received from my colleagues and my peers, and just even on my LinkedIn when this was announced, that people saying the impact that I've been able to have, or that they do see me as a role model. To me, that's why I do what I do. It's to be able to have that impact and make a difference to others around me. And so this really has been, and through the interview process, I had the opportunity to do a lot of self-reflection, and to be able to capture and look back and say, yeah, it is making a difference, and that other people should kind of look up and aspire to do similar things is a huge honor.
Yeah, and actually, this is one thing why we really love this list specifically, is that obviously gender and women diversity, I suppose, has had a lot of attention in the last decade. But I think our criticism of it has been, it's very much focused on middle and upper class white women. And so one thing that we've always done and involved is to ensure that we're taking an intersectional approach to celebrate women of all kinds. So racial diversity, LGBT plus, etc. So honestly, it's really amazing to have the four of you on this panel sharing your stories. And that's what we want other women, both white women as well as racially diverse women, to also take action. Because as we're learning so far, we all have a part to play to take action for change to happen. So that's the key thing. So thank you for that, Divya. Bo, what about you?
Right. Like many people, that we all have a milestone in our life and go to a dream school, get a promotion, etc. But I think what really made a difference is the one that I launched within iShares Market. Now we're part of SP Global. The very similar to what Involve is doing, Suki, you're doing in concept, what we call the Global Women in Leadership Forum. Because we believe in the role models, we believe in seeing and believing. So the forum that we have is inviting the women leaders from our clients and to come to share their experience, their expertise, their involvement with diversity and inclusion. Because we want people to see, we want our own employees as well as our clients to see there are women as head of a technology, as head of the ESG, as chief economist. There are women taking all those paths, make the top or make wherever they want to be, right?
Yeah.
So but I would have to say how this is the outcome. The Women Leadership Forum is the outcome of our internal discussion within iShares Market, where I helped to chair with 60 plus MDs above, those leaders. We had active discussion what we can do to improve the policies and or platforms for the middle level women in their career. And that was an initiative started by our former CEO, Lance Ugler. He believed in me, he believed in other women leaders, and tapped on our shoulder, give us the opportunity to have that discussion. That discussion came out with a lot of great results. This Women Leadership Forum is one of them. But with that, we really want a lot of, women or men or everyone at a different stage of their career, seeing the women leaders or any leaders in their position. They can look up to them and say, see and believing. They can be there. I can be there one day as well.
Absolutely. You can't be what you can't see. So I applaud you for launching the program. Well done. Haydi, finally, your career highlight.
I'm exactly like Divya. I feel this has been a great highlight, being recognized as a role model. last year and in this list as well. Certainly a great and an impeccable achievement. But I would also share with everyone something that I'm really proud of. In the last 2 years, I've been working and executing a strategy to change the culture in the organization, change the hearts and minds of people in basically encouraging people to think and embrace change to become a bank of choice and an employer of choice to both our people and our customer. So it's been a wonderful journey since we've embarked on it. It started just with a very small, similar again to Plax, a very small group of colleagues. But just seeing through the importance of including others, and we've fast grown from a team of 4. We've included people from every part of every country, every part of the region, across businesses, across functions. We became 150. We designed how our new culture should look like, what is our purpose, what is the service standards or the navigation factor that all can be using. And soon we've grown from 150 and we inducted 10,500 colleagues across the region. And it's just a very proud moment when we did that, and we did that through the pandemic. So it just gives me a sense of pride that I was leading, but along with many others who were very interested and motivated to be part of this change story.
I mean, they're 4 really great examples. I think we can give you a little round of applause for the achievements, because we need to celebrate them. That's the other thing. We need to celebrate our achievements and talk about them. Otherwise, how do we encourage other people to take action too? So well done to all 4 of you. Haydi, I'm going to stay with you and ask actually now more about challenges. So the global workforce has a myriad of challenges for women of color in business. What is the one challenge you face that you believe to be specific to the context of your environment?
So I come across many people who might have their own connotation or association, or might be a bit reluctant. They have their own reasons behind not feeling very comfortable or not knowing the reactions of, for example, dealing with a woman who's covered. Right. So although we work in a multinational, in a country, in a multinational organization, a lot of people have those certain stereotypes about either dress code, backgrounds, the exterior, basically. But I've witnessed walls being broken and stereotypes being challenged, and people really surprised when we start working together, when they see your articulation or capabilities. They come and they actually share with me the fear or the perception that they've had previously. You're so bubbly, you're so flexible. We had, and they open up and they say, we never thought you would be like that. I'm like, but why? So those kind of initial challenges, until you're able to get people to see beyond you and beyond the exterior and see really the real value that you add and the real core basically behind the exterior. So these are the situations at times that you really have to walk and feel that you belong and let people see beyond the exterior.
No, great, thank you. Divya, I'm going to come to you. Same question to you. Any specific challenges or challenge that you faced?
Yeah, I think very similar to Haydi. I think it's the challenge is this assumptions people make based on what I look. Toronto is a very multicultural, diverse environment, and maybe because it is so diverse and multicultural, the question I get asked a lot is, where are you from? And I'm born and raised in Toronto, and I'll say I'm Canadian, and they'll go, but no, where are you really from? And it's, you know, and then there's the stereotypes that come with that. You know, perhaps I don't know the local business environment as well because I'm new to the country, or I don't have the connectivity in market to be able to do my job. And so I feel that, and I get asked this by Caucasians as well as people of color. It's universal. And so, you know, they're like, oh, well, you don't have an accent. And it's, so I feel that sometimes people make those assumptions just by looking at me, and then I'm already starting from a deficit. And I feel like I have to prove something just to get on even footing. And so I think that's something that, you know, this is why conversations like this are so important. It's to get people to start thinking differently. And, you know, the old adage, don't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely. I'm smiling because we've all had that experience.
Yeah.
Where someone says, where are you from? And we're like, Derby in the Midlands. Like, or the worst I've had is when someone said, oh, your English is great.
Yep.
Thank you. But usually it's not coming. The thing is, it's not usually coming from a place of hate. Like, the way I see it is that we also need to be a little bit more empathetic, where usually it's just a lack of knowledge and engagement around the subject of race or issues or challenges that we might face. So I think we just need to be, I mean, I normally make a joke of it, if I'm honest, and try and rectify it that way rather than calling out or stop being racist. But, you know, I just don't think it's not helpful launching to that immediately, unless of course they are purposely trying to poke you or be insulting. Then that's a different approach.
Yeah, I think generally people are just curious, right? They want to find a common ground or something to talk about. But it's funny that you know, it's no, where are you really from?
Well, and what I also say is, if you do actually want to know where someone is from, what you should do is offer your background first. Like, say, hey, my parents are from India, I grew up in Derby in the Midlands, would love to know more about you. So you're offering it, you're giving them permission to then share it with you rather than saying where you're from. Or if you want to know their heritage, be quite direct, say, hey, what's your heritage? Like, don't try and say where are you from by trying to say what you really want to find out. We could have a whole session just on language and race. Honestly, we really could. But we want to hear, Plax, I want to hear your challenge.
Just laughing at that because my one is, you speak really well. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So my challenge is similar. So I think as a junior attorney, you know, I've grown up in Zimbabwe, I've trained in South Africa, and now I'm doing my training contract. So I always felt like I wasn't seen. And at that point in time, and still possibly to this day, the legal fraternity was very white male, but also Afrikaans white male. So then there's the extra language barrier. So I remember, for example, either I'd walk into a boardroom and it would be assumed that, okay, I'll have a cappuccino with 2 sugars. And I'm like, no, I will call it, I'm not here to serve you tea. Or I would, for one example that I'll always remember is I had called a client meeting with the opposition side. And I was only female, only Black female, and they started all speaking in Afrikaans, and it's my meeting. So I'm like, So I'm like, I'm a bit timid as I'm starting out. I'm like, hi guys, could we speak in English? You know, like, you know, I need to understand my next brief, but no one's hearing me. And then I'm like to my client, come on, protect me, like help me out here. You know, I don't understand. Where's your, like, help me out. So, you know, after nudging him a little bit, I was like, okay, well, I think I'm just going to leave and you can brief me afterwards. Because no.
So your client didn't even step in?
No.
Wow, okay.
At that point in time, I was like, okay, well, adding no value, I'm going to leave. And also at that point in time, I was close to tears because I'm just starting out and I just felt so unseen. And then eventually he's like, oh, okay, sorry, English. So the matter went on for a long time, and then I made a joke of it. So I'd walk and say, hi, gentlemen, the language for today will be English. And they'd all kind of giggle. But I had to grow the guts to actually say that and you know, try get her a seat at the table.
Well done for you for calling it out and trying to tackle it. So well done. Bo, would love to hear your challenge.
Thank you. I think the biggest challenge is really to get your voice heard. And there's different forms of it, sitting at the table, lean in, open the camera during the video conference, raise your hand for the project. But really get your voice heard is the most difficult thing. And I mean on both ways, for the speakers as well as the listeners. Because I myself come a long way here, and right now, I'm most of the time is trying to get my voice heard, right? The issue is more on the listener side, because I look different from them, and I have different opinions, and they're more comfortable, generally speaking, to look at people who are similar to them, right? But along the way, I also see I coach and mentor a lot of women who are still trying to speak up. I have spent so much time trying to encourage everyone and trying to speak up, express their opinion. And I had a mentor session with a lady in our company out of India. And it's a one-on-one session. For the first time, she won't even open her camera, right? And at the second session, I start to, talking to her. Why not? Why not open camera? It's one-on-one. I'm not, we're just having a session together, just have a chat together. And she's like giving me all the reasons, good reasons, because she's concerned because the background is a little messy and the environment might be noisy, because as we're working from home, the kids might run into the camera. And you know what I tell her? I said, we're just working together. You don't have to be red carpet ready to open the camera. And you're beautiful as it is. I'm not looking for a movie star, right? And so you have the full fun, open it. Even the kids running, so what? And the kids could be annoying when you work from home, as well as your colleague in the office, like a poke into your camera as well, right? So I spend a lot of time encouraging everyone, especially I work in APAC. A lot of culture here is quite reserved. Women here is even more reserved. And I spend so much time encouraging, speak up. You don't have to be you don't have to offer every time you speak up. It doesn't have to be the best opinion. It doesn't have to be the genius idea. Just express your opinion. It's valuable, different perspective, welcome. And also, if you don't speak up, how do we know how great you are? Right?
I think that's a mic drop moment there. So that's I love the fact you don't have to be red carpet ready, and I think it's completely brilliant. Because think about all the mediocre men out there that say something that doesn't add any value. So I mean, women need to also. I'm not saying don't say anything of value, but women also need to speak up. We've actually got a question here from I'm sorry if I pronounced the name incorrectly, from Tasnika Gorhu, who is asking, what is the panel's view on ways to make your voice heard for someone early in their career? So Haydi, let's come to you for that.
Right. I think just be the person you are, because if you are genuine in bringing your own character, be proud of who you are. Don't apologize for your background, color, culture. Just bring your real self. It's integral to your identity, and be genuine. Learn to be vocal when you have to. Ask questions. Don't be shy of anything, because that's how you will get people to embrace the inclusion. This is how you will get people to accept everyone around. So be genuine and be brave, bring your whole self, and be very careful on how you show up to every meeting or every interaction you have, and always look and seek to learn and to grow, and don't be shy of asking any questions, and get yourself involved.
Bo is desperate to say something. Go, Bo.
Yeah, I get so many questions like this. And let me turn this back to this person asked, what is the worst can happen if you speak up in the meeting? And you're early in your career, what's the worst can happen? Will you be fired on the spot? No, right? Why don't you take the chance to express your opinion? If you speak too much, if you're being annoying, you will be let know. People will let you know, right? The reality is most of people who are asking this question have those struggle in their heart is the one who are not speaking up enough.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of techniques I can teach you to help you out how to speak up. In a conference, it's actually quite difficult to speak up. Remember I mentioned I used to chair a working group with 60 MDs above. These are like all talking, right? And so there's many different techniques you need to practice, but in principle, take every single moment that you can speak up, and proactively looking for the opportunity you can speak up. It comes with practice. The more you speak up, the better you'll get at to express yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, it's good if you're confident enough to do that. I think if you're not, and you're early in your career, I think it's finding someone that can help you get your voice heard in the room. So Plax, you talked about that meeting where they're all talking in Afrikaans and no one stepped up in that meeting.
Yeah.
So it's finding someone, I think, in the network or in the business that can really help you with getting your voice heard. I think that's when I think where you can be part of like women's networks to support each other to get your voice heard within your business. We've got a comment. It's from someone, they haven't given their name, so it's anonymous. So Divya, I'm going to come to you for this.
Okay.
So what this person has said is I've loved hearing about the challenges that the panelists have faced. It's really eye-opening. On the inverse, have you ever found doors opened for you because of your ethnicity or gender through positive discrimination or to meet a statistic? What has your experience been?
I would say not that I'm consciously aware of. I'm sure probably maybe behind the scenes, but at the end of the day, I'm confident that even if that was a factor, unless you've got the chops and the talent, no one's going to put you in a position just because how you look. The businesses, they're for profit, they have to succeed. And so even if it came down to a choice between me and another person, and they said in a room somewhere behind closed doors that, okay, maybe we need to lean towards Divya because we should have more female representation, or we're looking to ensure we've got more diverse representation. I'm very confident in myself that my name wouldn't have even been on that list if I didn't have the substance and the skills and the talent to be successful in that position, regardless. So maybe, yes, I have been the beneficiary because of being a woman or because I'm ethnically diverse, but I'll take it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Take it.
I'll take
the
it.
Job. Take the bloody job, because think about all the straight white guys that do this every day, all day, every day, giving each other jobs, and they're not even that good. So why not?
I'll take it and I'll crush it. So there you go.
Exactly. Zach, sorry.
So, at a previous firm, I was the poster child for all our pitches and proposals. And initially I got offended. I was like, but surely maybe we should be saying, we aren't diverse yet, but we're working towards it, as opposed to every time we needed to pitch to a client, like, oh, Plax, you're going to do a video. Oh, Plax, you're going to do this. But then actually, by doing that, I was able to build my network internally. Right. So people saw me on video after video, and now walking in the corridor, hi, Plax. And I'm like, oh, that guy's really important. He knows me. Oh my goodness. So yes, it started off as I was the poster child, but because of my personal brand that I was also building at the same time, it actually worked out well for me. So as Divya says, I'll take it. I'll take the leg up if I can, but also knowing that I'm more than capable.
Worth it. Yeah. I'm worth it.
Sorry, Haydi, we're going to say something.
No, I'm just saying I know that I'm worth it. So
absolutely. So we've got another question here from Ellie Reed. So she's saying these experiences have been inspiring and insightful. Have you ever felt imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you navigate your way through it? So Bo, I'm going to come to you for that.
Sorry, I didn't hear clearly what syndrome he was talking about.
Have you ever felt imposter syndrome?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I rarely think too much about what's happening and just charge forward, right? And if there's a good opportunity, just go for it.
Yeah.
And don't think too much to overcomplicate things. And as a previous question, if there's opportunities, snap it. right? And focus on improving yourself, focus on improving your skills, and focus on what's coming up and what's the future.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Haydi, what about you? Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you navigate it?
No, I think I've also always been happy to be assigned or challenged even with any new responsibilities, even if it has nothing to do with my role. I'm very open to support, and because I feel it is a learning journey. So if anything comes my way, I just take it very positively and run with it.
Yeah, I think it's a really important subject. Plax, I think you wanted to say something as well, because imposter syndrome is real.
It is real.
I think all minorities experience it, being it women, racially diverse, LGBT plus. So this is a really great question, Ellie. Thank you for asking it. Plax.
So actually, this panel, so I have this thing is when I joke with myself. So every time I'm a bit overwhelmed, I'm like, okay, I'm getting on the table, and I physically go under the table to take a breathe. So when I got the email from Miha about this, the panelists, and I was like, these are real women. What am I doing on this panel? Like, and like my colleagues were like, but you're real too. And I was like, no, these are real women. Like, why am I on this panel? So even with this, I had major imposter syndrome, and I was like, no, I'm canceling. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to make a fool out of myself. Like, and you know, it just spirals out of control. So I have my under the desk moment, come out. I'm like, okay, Plax, you can do this. Again, what's the worst that can happen? And I always ask myself that. So,
exactly. No, well, Plax, you are very much welcome in this panel. So thank you for joining us. Divya, do you have any comments about imposter syndrome?
I think I almost, whatever the inverse of imposter syndrome is I have that. I think I sometimes wish earlier in my career I had tried to be more than I could. Coming back to, I think, one of the earlier questions around finding your voice and speaking up. I wish I'd done that earlier in my career. It was one of the questions in the interview, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? And for me, it was, I wish I'd been a bit more assertive earlier on in my career and found my voice, because I spent many years with regrets, because I think I tend to double down on myself that, oh, I can't do this, or I can't speak up in a meeting, or I can't put my hand up for this presentation or this opportunity because I'm not a good public speaker. I'm not that. So for me, sometimes I agree, you have to be genuine, you have to be authentic, otherwise people will see right through it. But sometimes you might just need to push yourself and take that risk. You know, what Plax was saying, I had the exact same reaction as you did, Plax, to when I got the email around the panelists, but it was like, you know what, no, I can do this. And so I'm going to put myself out there because I do have valuable insights to share, and I wouldn't have been chosen if I wasn't capable of it and wasn't worthy of it.
No, fantastic. And we've got another really good.
Maybe I add one more sentence on this question. Is if you don't believe in yourself, sure, you will have doubts sometimes, but if you don't believe in yourself, no one will believe in you. So believe in yourself first.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is a good point, Bo, because Tasneek has asked another really great question. So how well do you think one knows themselves or the direction they want to go, that want their career to go in order to build confidence to become a leader or a role model? So what do you think they need to do to build confidence to become a role model themselves? Bo?
This is a great question. So I'm a big believer of you need a vision, right? A vision may be a big word. You need a picture of who you want to be in the next 5-10 years. And sometimes this picture may not be that clear at the beginning. I tell you, when I was kids, when I was teenagers, I had a picture of some woman in a business suit, and it was a vague picture, but that's where I end up with, right? So if you don't have a picture, start thinking about it. Those pictures will become more and more clear who you want to be. But if you don't seek for it, it will never become clear. Once you have a picture, you know what you want to be, who you want to be in the next 5-10 years, and everything will fall into the right place. Because ultimately, all our actions are driven by our values. You believe it, what you want to be, and everything will follow the suit. You will learn the necessary skills, and you'll become more and more confident. You will seek for the people that can help you to get there. But the most important, you need to see that picture first.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, with my US team, actually in Dallas, we had a session where we created a vision board, like a mood board, but your motivation. I've never done it before, ever. And I've been working for like 20 years, and it was a really great experience to visualize like what you want to do for the following year. And I highly recommend it to everyone to do. Like you said, if you can visualize it, you can hopefully make it happen. We literally have 8 minutes. The time has flown by. We've got 8 minutes left. This has been a great conversation. So really appreciate it. Thank you for the interactions with everyone at home as well. I mean, we've got more questions here, so I'm going to try and get through some of these as quickly as possible. So Carla Peters has asked about navigating. She's saying that navigating the corporate world can be very exhausting and stressful. How are the panelists prioritizing taking care of their mental health and coping with stress? So Plax, let's come to you first for that.
That's very funny because Carla is on my team.
Oh.
Carla,
I did not know that, everyone.
I'm joking. I'm like, Carla, you saying you're straight? No, I'm joking. It's all good. So you have to learn to build, and I learned this the hard way, boundaries and what your non-negotiables are. I always start a bit later. So everyone else is in the office at 7 or 8. I'm only in at 9 because I will go to gym first. I will go to gym, I will do my boxing, or I'll go for a run. That for me is not negotiable. So I cannot have a diary entry in before 9 o'clock. Because otherwise, if I don't do that then, the day just gets further and further away from me. So I suppose it is exhausting, it is tiring, but it's figuring out what your boundaries are and what your non-negotiables are. So for you to be able to function well in your role, what can you not compromise on? And that for me works because then I go box all my frustrations out in the morning, and then I'm like, right, I can be a decent human being, and I go into the office and everything is great. So I just think for me personally, what has worked has been figuring out what boundaries and what makes me function and what gives me like the endorphins that I need or the, you know, so that would be my
great. And Haydi, and so Divya?
And it's very similar to Plax. And I think the other thing, and women, I know myself, notorious, learning to say no. I've, again, learned that the hard way, especially when you're early in your career, you feel you've got to take on to show that you're a hard worker, that you're successful. And that just contributes to additional physical, mental stress. And so I have learned over the years, learning to say no, or going to my manager and saying, help me prioritize. I've got these 10 things. I cannot do all 10 things. So what's most important to you? And I will focus on that first instead of trying to do everything at the same time. And so that's the other, I'd tag on to Plax's comments. Our boundaries are very important, and learning to prioritize and say no when you have to. You don't need to carry the world on your shoulders. And I think women tend to do that way too much.
Absolutely. We literally have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you all one last question. I think that we'd all like to know, what do you all want to achieve next, either professionally or personally? So I'm going to start with you, Bo.
Professionally, there's still a lot to do, you know, and we're living a great time, and with such a globalization, and I'm definitely looking for the next step in my career to grow, to be more helping more people, to provide more impacts and serving clients. Personally, being a great mom has always been my top priority, which is probably many audience or the panelists would agree with me, is much harder than being a professional manager. And but I'm enjoying it. I'm constantly improving it, and I'm constantly challenging myself to be better. And they're good, they're great times. They're great times, but there are also some challenging times as well. But being a great mom is being the top priority for me.
Well, being a mum is probably one of the toughest jobs in the world, full stop. So what would we do without the mums in the world, quite frankly? So great. Plax, what do you want to achieve next?
So professionally, also just keep going, very ambitious. Want to get to a partnership level one day. But also I want to make an impact also regionally, so not just in South Africa. So we have hubs in, like, for example, New York, Belfast, London, China, Australia. I want to, broaden my personal brand within HSF for it to be a bit more regional. I also, and I'm very afraid to say this out loud, but I want to find more speaking opportunities for things that I'm passionate about. So, try and get rid of the imposter syndrome and speak a bit more. And then personally, so I have long story, but breast cancer, 3 years in remission, and I have a little charity called Pink Power. I've been supporting like one person each year, and I know I can do more. I just, I haven't prioritized it. So I do want to take my little Pink Power charity to more strength within South Africa, because I know from, the girls that I have helped with funds, they really do appreciate it, and I know I can do more. So I just need to push myself to do a bit extra there.
Great that you're 3 years in remission as well. So well done for that.
Thank
Fantastic. You. 3 more years to come and longer. Last but by no means least, Divya, what do you want to achieve next?
This is the toughest question of the morning. I think professionally, it's just continuing to enjoy what I do, to have an impact for those around me, and similar to Bo and Plax, just thinking about what's next in my own career development. And on the personal level, I've got 2 girls. I've got 2 teenage girls, and so they're yeah, and all the fun that comes with that. But it's interesting seeing them entering into some pivotal years in their lives. So just watching them, helping them flourish, setting them up for success, and seeing just them thrive. I'm really looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Haydi, I did ask you the question. Did I ask you about achievement?
No, you didn't. But it's
sorry.
all right.
Sorry.
No worries. So I think what we want to achieve next, I think we're just starting in terms of creating the awareness, supporting each other, empowering each other, helping people who do not naturally have the motivation or the tendency to show up and basically explore their own value and what they bring, and just showing people how it feels by seeing a significant value of just having a supportive colleague, just give a helping hand to achieve together, be it organizational goals or personal goals, and demonstrate and showcase the by having a different mindset of how can you contribute and add value and be a true role model to people around. Obviously, the super mom, super wife, super daughter, and sister to the support system that I have at home as well. So just continue doing what we're doing, keep learning and supporting one another.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, we've literally run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being our role models. Thank you to HSBC for supporting us with this list. And we really appreciate everything you're doing. We hope everyone at home is going to take more action and is inspired to do more for diversity and inclusion. And we will send the recording out so you can share it with your colleagues. But thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciate it. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for joining us. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.